Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at Roborock's latest wet and dry vacuum cleaner, the Flexi Pro, which in my opinion is the perfect upgrade to its predecessor, the Dyad Pro. Let's find out more. I've actually had the Dyad Pro for a while. I've been using it for a while. I also did a review of the Dyad Pro a couple of months back. You can watch our review if you're interested by clicking over here. And let me start by talking about a couple of the differences or upgrades from the Dyad Pro to the Flexi Pro. Let me start by the design, and I think there was a 180-degree flip at Roborock in their design strategy between the Flexi Pro and the Dyad Pro. The Dyad Pro was quite ugly, in my opinion at least. In my review, I said it reminded me of those old boxy CRT monitors. That thing was horrendous looking. It was bulky. I did not like how it looks. The Flexi Pro, on the other hand, and I say there's a 180-degree flip in their design strategy because it looks like a piece of art. It's much slimmer, it looks much nicer. The shape, the angles, the attention to detail. It is, in my opinion, one of the nicest looking wet and dry vacuums that I've seen, and I've tested a bunch of wet and dry vacuum cleaners. The screen is now at eye level. It's small, it's clean, it's clear. The buttons are well placed and very easy to press, and they've even paid attention to small details, like when you dock the machine on the base, the screen flips towards you so you can always look at the screen and read the number the right side up. So small attention to details, very welcome and very impressed. At the base there's what looks like carbon fiber. It has a really nice glossy white finish, though there might be a bit of over design there and focus more on aesthetics than functionality. So for starters, that nice glossy white finish I think would be prone to scratches, or more so than with other machines. Another thing, the water tank on the older model and most wet and dry vacuums is transparent, or at least opaque, so you can see the water level. While this glossy white is nice, functionality wise, I would rather be able to see how much water is in the water tank. But it was not only their design strategy that did a 180-degree flip. The machine itself now has a 180-degree lay flat capability, which is great. This means it can go under furniture, under tables, under the bed very easily, which is also a very welcome upgrade. In addition to the lay flat capabilities, another change, the Dyad Pro had two rollers, or actually three rollers, one large one and two smaller ones in two rows. The Flexi Pro goes back to the tried and tested one roller design, which I think is also better. So that's another welcome upgrade. The wheels have also been upgraded. They call them now Slide Tech, and they are self-propelled. So the Dyad Pro was also kind of self-propelled, but not in the wheels. The motor that rotates the brush would help propel the machine forward to make maneuvering it easier. With the Flexi Pro, the wheels themselves are self-propelled and bi-directionally. That means when you push the machine forward, the wheels are going to assist you in that forward motion. But also, when you pull the machine back, the wheels are going to also walk back with you to make moving that machine easier. And they actually work really well. They also added LED lights. It's not as bright as I've seen on other machines, but it's a nice addition. The Flexi Pro also has hot air drying of the brush at 55 degrees. Now, while the Dyad Pro in theory also had hot air drying, I spoke extensively about this in that review. Matter of the fact was there was no hot air. It was actually a room temperature air that was blowing on the brush roll, which meant drying it could take 4, 5, up to 6 hours sometimes. With the Flexi Pro, I'm very happy to report they finally fixed that. There's actually hot air that is blowing, but not only hot air, there's also hot water cleaning of the brush roll, which is also a welcome addition. And the idea behind the hot water cleaning is that it's going to help clean the brush roll more effectively by dissolving dirt and grime. The battery has also been upgraded from 43-minute runtime to 50-minute runtime on the Flexi Pro. Now, all that I've mentioned thus far were good upgrades. There are a few negative upgrades, shall I say, or things that were better on the Dyad Pro. For starters, the capacity of the water tanks is now reduced. On the Dyad Pro, the clean water tank had a 900 milliliter capacity. On the Flexi Pro, it's down to 730 milliliters. And the dirty water tank was 770 milliliters, and it's now 450 milliliters. So both tanks are smaller, which is unfortunate. The Dyad Pro is also quite unique in having that detergent tank that auto dispenses the detergent and mixes it with water rather than you having to add it manually to the water tank every time. That auto dispensing tank would last many weeks, and it was a nice addition. Unfortunately, the Flexi Pro does not have it, so they removed that. And another quite surprising thing they removed is one of the modes on the machine, which was the floor drying mode. So that mode would not dispense any water to the brush, but rather you would use it if you want to dry the floor or if there are any water spills or whatnot. For some reason, they removed that, which is a bit weird. I really don't understand why they would remove that mode. I think it was a useful mode, but for some reason, they decided to remove that. Though the Dyad Pro had two drying modes, there was the fast drying mode, which was quite loud, and the silent drying mode. They've removed the option of having two modes, and now there's just one drying mode. You can, however, change the duration from 30 to 60 to 90 minutes. So the machine now has three modes. There's auto mode, which automatically detects the level of dirt on the floor and adjusts the suction power, the speed of the brush rotation, but also the water output accordingly. There's ultra mode or max mode, which kicks the vacuum into highest power setting and the highest water output. And there's eco mode, which does the complete opposite, lowest setting for more battery life. And as I said, unfortunately, the fourth mode is gone, which was the floor suction or floor drying mode. As with the Dyad Pro, this is a Wi-Fi connected machine, so you can connect it to your Wi-Fi network and download the Roborock app, which is one of the better apps that I've seen in the market. And there's a bunch of things you can configure in the app. When the machine is on the base, you can start drying or start the self-cleaning cycle, but also you can configure a couple of things. So the self-cleaning cycle, you can set it at balanced, smart, or deep. And in smart mode, it's going to automatically detect the level of dirt on the brush and adjust the cleaning duration accordingly. You can also select the self-cleaning water temperature from room temperature to warm to hot. You can have auto self-cleaning so that whenever you dock the machine, it's going to start automatically the self-cleaning cycle. And you can select the drying rotation between 30 minutes, 60 minutes, or 90 minutes, and also activate auto drying. So the machine would automatically start drying the brush roll as soon as the cleaning cycle is done. And in the settings, you can activate unlock to automatically resume cleaning. So whenever you unlock the cleaning head, the machine will turn on automatically. And you can schedule self-cleaning and drying and repeat it either every day on weekdays, weekends, or create a custom schedule in case you want to run the cleaning and drying cycles when you're not at home, for example. And another important thing with Wi-Fi connected machines, you can actually update the firmware. So if they decide to release new features or fix any bugs, there's going to be a firmware update, and you can either manually do it or toggle auto update to have the machine automatically update whenever there's a new firmware. Now, when the machine is not on the dock, there are other settings that you can configure. Most notably, you can configure auto mode. So in auto mode, first of all, you can configure how much assistance you want from the wheels, from mild to moderate to intense. You can configure the suction force from gentle, balanced to turbo. You can also configure the water level from low, medium to high, and the brush roller speed from low to fast. Now let's talk about how it actually performs, and I was very pleasantly surprised with how easy it is to maneuver. The slide tack wheels, as I said, work really well. Although if there's a lot of water on the floor, and especially if you're on tiled floors, they do tend to slip a little bit. So that's one inconvenience there, but otherwise they work really well, and you really feel that assistance both in the forward pushing motion, but also in the backward pulling motion. The head also pivots quite well, and it's one of the better machines in terms of how much the head pivots. That's usually one of my complaints in other wet and dry vacuums that I've tested. So all in all, very easy to maneuver, and the lay flat ability is really nice. It's very easy to just completely lay it flat on the ground and clean under low furniture. As usual, I did do some cleaning tests to test how well the machine works. Starting off with the coffee test. So I poured a cup of espresso on the floor and I let it dry over 12 hours. And as you can see from the first run, the machine had absolutely no issue removing most of the coffee stains, which was great. Next up, milk and cereal, slightly larger chunks of cereal, and again, absolutely no issue getting rid of the milk and cereal. One thing I did notice, however, was that in auto mode, the machine was not kicking into higher power as I'm used to when it's sucking larger debris. So on the Dyad Pro and other similar machines in the market, whenever you are going over something like milk and cereal, the machine is going to automatically kick into higher power. And the ring on the machine is going to turn from blue to red to indicate there's more dirt that is being sucked. At first, I thought there might be an issue with my unit, so I got in touch with Roborock. And apparently the sensor on the Flexi Pro works differently. Now, in the past, the sensor would detect large particles and kick into higher mode. Roborock says the sensor here is a bit more advanced, and it only kicks into higher power if there are stubborn stains on the floor, which makes me think it's only triggered if there's residue of something on the brush roll that is being detected. Now, to be honest, I haven't seen the machine kick into higher power much, and I've tried a bunch of different scenarios, so I don't know how well the sensor actually works. But Roborock did point something out, and if you think of it, it makes sense. In the tests where other machines, including the Dyad Pro, would kick into higher mode, like the milk and cereal test that I just showed you, the machine was able in one single pass to get everything out without needing to kick into higher power, which makes sense. If it was able to get everything out at that low power setting, why would we want it to kick into higher power? So that part actually made sense to me, but then again, I'm not sure how effective or accurate that sensor is in kicking the machine into higher power. But the good thing is there is max mode, so you can manually kick the machine into higher power if you needed to, or if you realize you are going over a stain that's not being removed, so you can just change the mode and go into max power yourself, which other machines like the H14 from Dreamy have removed for some reason, and that was one of my main issues with that machine. Moving on with the cleaning tests, I also did a stress test with ketchup that I also let dry on the floor over 12 hours. Now, as you know, ketchup that is dried out over 12 hours is a very stubborn stain. So as expected, the machine took a lot of passes to be able to remove that, but eventually it got the ketchup out. And lastly, I did the honey test where I drizzled some honey on the floor and I went over it with the machine. From the first pass, it got most of the honey out, but I did go over it another 2 or 3 times just to make sure there's no stickiness left. And as you can see, the floor was completely clean and there was absolutely no stickiness there. Once the cleaning tests were done, we empty the dirty water tank, and here, as is the trend nowadays, there's a filter to catch the solid debris or separate the solid debris from the liquid in case you want to pour the liquid down the toilet, for example. And while initially when I saw that filter, I thought it was quite small and I was concerned it will not be very effective. It's actually well designed. As long as you remove it over your trash can, it should catch almost all of the solid debris, and then all you have to do is pour the liquid down the sink or the toilet. And this is what the brush looked like after those cleaning tests. And as you can see, it's stained red from the ketchup. So I put the machine on the charging dock and I initiated the cleaning cycle. I had set the temperature at hot, so I was curious to see if it actually cleans with hot water. My initial tests said no, so the water that was collected in the water tank was not actually hot, neither was the brush. But then what I did, I removed the brush roll to try to see if the water that is actually coming out is actually hot or not. And to my pleasant surprise, it was. So the way this works, there's a heating element somewhere here at the bottom of the base. And this is where the water is dispensed and collected. And after a few seconds, the water does get quite warm. As you can see with the thermometer, it got to about 50 degrees. Now, how effective that is at cleaning versus room temperature water, hard to tell. In theory, hot water is better at cleaning than room temperature water, but I don't know if the water is hot enough for that effectiveness, or if the hot water is in contact with the brush for a long enough duration for it to be effective at cleaning. But at least they're not lying about the claim it is hot water cleaning, which is good. And after the cleaning cycle, the drying cycle starts. And again, I tested to see if it's actually hot air. And again, to my pleasant surprise, they finally fixed this. It's no longer room temperature air, but it's actually hot air. I clocked it at about 55 to 60 degrees, which is great. One small thing I was somewhat disappointed in was how loud the drying cycle was. So it wasn't very loud at all. I clocked that at about 44 decibels at about a meter away from the machine, which is not very loud, but it is noticeable. It's there and could be a little bit annoying if the machine is with you in the same room. Now, if it's in another room, you're less likely to be bothered by that. And this is where I really miss that silent drying that they had on the Dyad Pro, which was really silent. You can barely hear it, even if you are just a few steps away from the machine. So I really wish Roborock kept those two modes, ideally giving us a longer silent drying mode, even if it's an hour, but then giving us a fast drying mode whereby they would output a much larger volume of hot air on the roller brush to dry it faster. Other machines like the Dreamy H14 and the Tinko S7 flash dry have a quick flash drying session, which lasts either 3 minutes or 5 minutes. So I really wish Roborock did that. But having said that, I was very happy to see that it only needed 30 minutes for the brush to come out completely dry. So I was very happy with that. I did not even need the 60 or 90 minutes to get the brush roll dry. They've also changed the way they do the drying. So in the Dyad Pro, the brush roll is not rotating. It just rotates by a couple of degrees every couple of minutes. Whereas with the Flexi Pro, the brush is constantly being rotated, which probably contributes to how effective the drying is. But again, the downside is the sound level. So I think this is what is making most of the noise, the constant rotation of that motor, of that brush roll. Whereas the Dreamy H14 also has silent drying, but they only rotate the brush every minute. As a result, it's a bit more silent. But anyway, 30 minutes, more than enough. Brush comes out quite dry, and the sound is a little bit annoying if you're in the same room, but if it's in a different room, this won't be an issue at all. So here are my thoughts on the Flexi Pro. To be honest, I absolutely love the machine. I think it's one of the better, if not the best, dare I say, wet and dry vacuum cleaners with 180-degree lay flat ability, at least from the ones that I've tested. Although it's not perfect, but it gets most of the things right. Do I wish the drying was a bit more silent? Yes. Do I wish there was still floor suction mode? Yes. The water tanks are a bit larger, yes, but none of these are deal breakers. The floor suction mode I can do without. The drying, because it's only 30 minutes and it's not that loud, I'm willing to forgive that. And also the price is reasonable. Now it is expensive, but I say reasonable because for some reason companies are taking the liberty to price their machines at astronomical figures, going all the way up to $800 and $900, which I really don't understand. I think is really overpriced. So the Flexi Pro is priced at around $500, but there could be promotions on that, bringing the price a bit down. I'll put links in the description, so make sure to check those links to see the price at the moment you're watching this. So while it is a bit more expensive than the Dyad Pro, I think if you take a look at the market and how expensive companies are pricing their wet and dry machines, in that respect, I think it's reasonably priced. It is still, though, a lot of money. So I'm not saying it's cheap, but relative to the competition, I think it's reasonably priced. Having said that, now that I've done individual reviews of the Dreamy H14, of the Tinko S6 Stretch, and of the Roborock Flexi Pro, all three which are similar in the sense that they all have that 180-degree lay flat capabilities. I will do another comparison review, just sharing my thoughts on these three machines, which one I think is the best of the bunch. So if you were interested in seeing that review, make sure you subscribe to my channel to get notified when I release it. Again, I'll put links in the description to the product page. These are affiliate links, so if you do decide to purchase this machine, I would appreciate if you'd go through the links. I may earn a small commission on some purchases at no extra cost to you. This would greatly help support the channel. As always, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or thoughts, feel free to drop them in the comment section. And if you like the video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel, as this encourages me to continue producing content. Until next time, cheers.